All right, so this is the AMZ Affiliate Bootcamp Module 7, Lesson 3. We're going to be talking about building your process through SOPs. So first off, we should talk about what SOPs are. What are standard operating procedures? Well, these are living documents that you're going to use to run your business day to day. And they're effectively step-by-step procedures that someone new could sit down, take the notes and the information that you have, and follow it to do everything you need to do in your business.
Yeah, I think these are critical to really launching your business to the next step. A lot of people that are solo entrepreneurs or maybe just have a very small team of them and one outsourcer, two outsourcers, they kind of have everything generalized. They don't have everything put together really well. And people know how to do things in their own mind, in their own notes, and there's not a document that everyone can reference. And that's so important. And that's what SOPs are really there to organize.
Yeah, since you've been taking this course, you've started to realize probably that a lot of these things are repetitive. They can be done over and over again. Now, the first couple of times you do it, you really need to do it yourself because you need to make tweaks or adjustments, especially as time goes on and the course maybe gets a little older, where you're going to see, okay, this is more effective for me, this is less effective for me. And that's going to, ultimately determine your process. You're going to figure out what that is as you go along. And by creating SOPs, you're going to have living documents that really document step by step exactly what needs to be done to build the types of sites that work for you. All right, so let's talk about when to use SOPs. You're going to want to use SOPs as soon as you're done testing through the process. Now, module 1 through 6, you probably were trying it out. You made some mistakes. You made some errors in your keyword research or in building the sites. That's fine. You're just kind of figuring it out. But as soon as the processes start to be routine, so you've done the keyword research thing, you know exactly what to look for, creating the sites over and over again, you've done it a few times, you're very familiar with it, ordering the content, adding the content to your site, these are all things that you've done multiple times. You now have a routine that you can follow and you can create SOPs for. You especially want to build SOPs as soon as you're looking to hire. Having these SOPs in place is going to be so much more helpful than trying to just train them based on nothing or just giving them the course and saying, hey, good luck.
Yeah, I think this is so important too, Justin, is that you as the business owner, as the one teaching these new hires, really need to do these processes yourself first. It's so tempting to go ahead and say, here's the course, just look at the slideshow, listen to Justin and Joe, and follow along. Most outsourcers are not going to be able to follow that. You need to do it yourself. And we learned this, right, Justin, when we ran our outsourcing company. We would have people come to us all the time that had never actually done the process, and we tried to outsource it to our agents, and it was a disaster. But companies that came to us and had a manager in place or them themselves had already done it, and they were outsourcing to our agents, it worked beautifully.
Yeah, I've seen this happen a lot where entrepreneurs go, okay, here's the AMZ affiliate bootcamp. Just listen to this and go follow the process. And unfortunately, it's a little too confusing, especially for like virtual assistants, to where you give them this whole course and say, hey, just, good luck, go follow this course and start building these sites out for me. What you're really going to need to do is to break it down into smaller chunks. And that's exactly what SOPs will do for your team that you're going to hire. All right, so let's talk about creating SOPs. The first thing you want to do is you want to break the overall process down into bite-sized chunks. And the way you can do that, for example, with AMZ affiliate sites is, let's say the first process is keyword research, right? So the particular process you follow start to finish to determine what the keywords are that you're going to target for the site. The next process might be site setup, right? Getting the domain attached to hosting, getting WordPress up, that kind of thing. The third might be, the content ordering, editing, and publishing process. So there's a start to finish process for content. And, the fourth may be adding content, longer term as you continue to grow out the site. So there's going to be all these different, steps or chunks of the process that you can break down and really do a step 1 through step 12 to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bite-sized chunk here is really the key information. You don't want to make SOPs too long and complicated. That can really deter people from following them. They go, oh my God, that SOP is 57 steps. It's got, sub-steps, everything like that. It's easier if you divide them into separate little documents. It makes people want to follow them along.
So let's just take the first step, whatever, keyword research, right? For the keyword research process, you're going to want to include as much detail that's needed for someone new to be able to follow along start to finish. So you've already gone through the process of training them, but if they need something to refer back to, this SOP has all that information. Now, for us, we actually include like links to things if they're needed, links to the software, links to other documents or things online that kind of explain what's going on. We'll even include like usernames and passwords, especially as a smaller company, for logging into, whatever system you need them to log into, software or whatever, to get the job done. We even include that in the SOP. So it basically allows someone to do it from start to finish. We also use multi-tier SOPs. And what I mean by that is you may have a Amazon affiliate site SOP, which, is start to finish, but it doesn't go into detail. It just kind of says, do the keyword research piece, and then you have some notes in there, and then do the site setup piece, and you have some notes in there. And it actually links to like a tier 2 SOP, and that one does the very, very detailed stuff. Now, you don't have to do that. You don't have to start with that, but that can be helpful for really complicated processes.
Yeah, that's what I really like about some of the software that you can use in order to manage SOPs is you can have an SOP inside of an SOP. So when you do get to more complex processes, it's easier for people to visualize what's happening instead of having one long step-by-step process.
Yeah, and I should mention, some of the software, we mentioned this in one of the earlier slides, but, the software that we use, the first one we use is Suite Process. And Suite Process is great because it has modules, or it has, like plug and play steps. So if you ever add a step or need to make changes to the process, you can just drag and drop them to where they need to be. That is a paid piece of software, though. So obviously, if you're growing and you've had some financial success with your sites, it might make sense. If you want to use something free that's relatively easy to use, you can also just do it in Google Docs.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people will argue that Google Docs is free and it's easier and everybody has it and everybody knows how to use it. But I would say you should check out Suite Process if you are doing more complicated SOPs.
Another piece of software you can use, and I think this is great for managing niche affiliate sites. This isn't something we did, Joe, but I think if we did it again, I would use this, is Trello, right? So once you have the bite-sized chunks, the keyword research, the site setup, the adding content, you can create columns in a Trello board. And all you have to do is you can have you or your team, you can have someone drag and drop each particular project or niche site that you're working on from one column to the other when it's done. So, at a glance, you can go in there and kind of see where each of your sites is in kind of the production or creation process. I think that could be great for niche site creation.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything where you have a kind of detailed process and you want to see an overview and where stuff is at a simple glance, a Trello board is great for that, and everyone should consider it.
All right, man. So let's talk about managing your SOPs. First off, you're going to want to keep these updated. You're going to want to review them fairly regularly. And I think a monthly or quarterly review is inevitable, right? So what you don't want to have, and we mentioned this earlier, is that this is a living document, or these are living documents. So what you don't want to have are like SOPs you created 2 years ago that you haven't updated, especially as you start to add your team or you start to bring on new hires. You're going to have these old SOPs that aren't actually the way they're built anymore. And they're going to ask you, they're going to say, well, you're saying to do it this way, but your SOP says this, and you don't want a mismatch there. So doing a monthly or quarterly review of your SOPs is important. And again, you have to keep them updated.
Yeah, at the very least, you should assign it to someone and they should be updating it. The worst thing is to have a stale SOP that someone new comes on board, you point to the SOP and it's completely wrong. That just leads to people not trusting in your SOPs and that they're accurate and working. And it leads to a lot of work for you when you bring new people on.
And the other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you eventually transfer ownership of each individual SOP to your team. So you have the standard operating procedure for keyword research, right? As you bring new hires on and you get them kind of trained up and up to speed, you're going to want to have them take ownership of those SOPs. Because they're dealing with them on a daily basis, you're going to want them to have some control over how that SOP works and what the individual steps are. They're probably going to make improvements and changes to it over time, and you want that. You want to have them have that kind of control because they're the ones dealing with it on a daily basis. All right, so that's a pretty good overview of, I think, standard operating procedures. The main gist here, the main point is that you're going to want to have these in place before you hire. And when you're going to want to put these in place is after you've already done this quite a bit yourself, you've tested through the process, everything's become kind of routine, and you're ready to move on. You're ready to, document the processes and start bringing on and hiring a team to do this work with you. All right, in the next lessons, we're going to talk about hiring and training your team and expanding your Amazon affiliate sites.